What's up, guys? It's time for Nerdy News. Hey, what is up, everybody? It is 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's not row time, but Eastern Standard Time. That means it's time for Nerdy News on Comics and Cosmetics. I'm your host, Danny Sansi, licensed cosmetologist and registered super nerd. And folks, we got a few things to talk about. I mean, really just a couple, and really by just a couple, I mean basically X-Men 97 and where we're going to go from here, because fairly certain I'm not the only one who thinks that, they just absolutely nailed it, right? Yeah, I knew I wasn't alone. Good for you. Thanks for joining in. Speaking of which, before we go any further, please make sure to make that sacrifice to our algorithm overlords here at YouTube, Kick, the Twix, wherever else we're at. I guess we're not on Kick right now because something's going on with their whatever. That's super weird because I put in the information. So I guess that was super cool what just happened right now. So I hope you enjoyed that. But I also hope that you hit the like button. If you're new, I hope you subscribed and ring the notification bell so you get notified whenever I'm back with more nerdy content. Now, the last video I dropped, sorry, there's a hair on my lip, and even though I've done hair for almost 20 years, that really grosses me out. And I'm not sure if it was my hair or Dave's hair or the dog's hair, and then my imagination goes from there. It's just too much to handle. Anywho, I dropped a video this past week about Harley Quinn. It's more of a case study on the character of Harley Quinn, like what we as women can learn from this character and why she should not be romanticized or glorified by any stretch of the imagination, especially her relationship with the Joker. Do me a favor and check that out. I put a lot of work into it. I'm super proud of it. I hope you like it. I really do. But if you don't, I'm still proud of it. Yeah, I'm still proud. But anyway, I think I have rattled on a little bit too much and almost completely sacrificed the stream because I'm old and I keep pressing buttons that I really don't know what they do. So to save me from me, let's bring on my guest. It's his first time on Comics and Cosmetics. And it was a bit of a debate on that. Like, is it really his first time? But I think it is. So everyone be gentle. It's Brad from the Scare Off Scuttlebutt podcast. Everyone give Brad a big hello. How you doing? And welcome.
I was waiting for my round of applause. Thank you.
I keep these kids in the basement and they come up whenever there's need for applause like this.
Child exploitation is cool.
What's up, Brad? How's it going?
You always remember your first time unless it's on this show. I can't wait to talk about The Last Jedi today. It's going to be amazing.
Oh, Bro is going to love that.
That's surprise everybody. She got you.
Specifically why he came today.
Let's talk about time zones there for a second, though. It took about 3 years for Ro to figure out how Central and Eastern Standard Time worked, because he thought for sure the entire time I was 1 hour behind him. Fun fact: the East Coast comes first.
And Ro and I are in the same time zone.
Yeah,
he still gets it confused.
I know.
So weird.
Yeah.
So for those in the chat who don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about Brad. Who is Brad?
I'm still trying to figure that. You shouldn't care, and I'm still trying to figure it out myself. But I'm back on Twitter or X or whatever. What is that typing? This gray if scuttle man. It's a good thing you have sound effects.
You know what? What happened was,
yeah,
I was typing while talking to you and telling Dave that he can hang out in here still. He just
okay.
has to use his earbuds. So at least I didn't
there
say
it is right there.
At least I didn't say Shuttlebutt.
Yeah.
Sheriff Shuttlebutt.
Yeah, I'm back on Twitter. No one cares. But if you do, that's my whatever the hell you call it these days handle. And I am back on the Sheriff Scuttlebutt podcast with Ro, the one who actually counts in that equation.
This guy kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. Cool. He does all the work. I just show up and talk, and it works out well that way.
You're just the face.
I'm just a beautiful face. That's it. But longtime nerd, both Star Wars and obviously, as we're talking about today, X-Men, and I can't wait to talk about some X-Men 97.
Oh yeah, me too. But real quick, Ro, I'm talking about your YouTube. What's your YouTube handle? Because I thought it was the thing I put, and now you're putting that thing, and you're distracting me because there's other things I'm supposed to be doing, like saying hello to the chat. This guy from I believe it says Sheriff Shuttlebutt podcast. The Red 5 Tavern. It's also Brad, but still
also me.
D&D, which I've never played. I was supposed to play this last Saturday, and it didn't work out. I did make a character.
You need to play. You'll be hooked. Play once, you'll be hooked.
I would like my first time to be with you. I'm just saying.
I mean, I'll be gentle.
I just choked on my own spit. It's something that happens after you hit 40.
See, it escalates quickly like that.
It does. It does. Yeah. Ubaldo, hello, sir. Thank you so much, Spencer. Spencer comes to everything I do now, and I'm so grateful for him because he was the only person in my kick chat but I was in a bad mood and trying to play Fortnite The Sims. So God bless you, sir. Not all heroes wear capes. And Will. Hello, Will. Captain Wrecked.
Good
so
piece.
Happy to see you. Okay, so we need to talk about this because I feel like we need to talk. So, as far as us, we watched X-Men the animated series as kids, like middle school, right? Like,
yep.
Okay. that was like, for me at least, the X-Men animated series when I was like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. It was kind of like my soap opera. You know, my grandma, not really my grandma, my aunt, my great aunt would watch Days of Our Lives, and my dad would watch All My Children in General Hospital. But for me, I had the same kind of vibe and reaction to the animated series as my family members did with soap operas. Like, did you see what happened this week with Rogue and Miss Marvel? Did you? I know. Like, is she ever going to get with Gambit? Is it ever going to happen? Are they ever going to cast? Like, it was, to me, it was the first animated series, the first show for kids that didn't talk to kids like they were stupid. You know? Like, it was a cartoon, but they covered really serious topics and subjects. They didn't talk down to us. They just gave us good entertainment. And I've always been very impressed by that.
Yeah, I mean, Saturday morning was owned by Marvel in the house because I'm not sure, what time it played other places, but I think it was 9:30 a.m. was X-Men, and some other cartoon that I didn't care about came on at 10, and then 10:30 was Amazing Spider-Man, or whatever the Spider-Man was entitled there in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And that was every Saturday morning religiously. And, it just like, Stan Lee did with it originally, like you're saying, it had that feel to it and made it accessible to people our age at that time.
Yes.
So I was reading the comics, but the cartoon was a lot more easily digestible than what the comics were. So it was definitely a part of my life, just like you said. For those, I was saying to Ro on Saturday night when we were talking about it. X-Men's one of those things that helped get me through my teenage years. I was very,
absolutely.
Like we were all ahead of the nerdy power curve, where we were nerds before it was cool. So so I was awkward, and I was pretty introverted at the time, but having things like the X-Men made it a lot easier for me.
I'm inclined to agree. And it it helped us find other nerds, because it did make X-Men cool to kids who didn't read the comics, or who thought kids who read comics and were super into them were just total losers. When other kids started watching it, they're like, oh wait, like I'm invested in Beast's story here. Like
Yeah.
I'm invested. Suddenly they wanted to talk to us
Yeah.
and ask us questions. So I don't know about you, like this is kind of just dawning on me, but do we feel like X-Men the animated series was kind of the tipping point when that stuff started to become cool?
I don't know. Like it's, I've said before, I don't like recycled material. So
Right.
when I heard that X-Men was coming back and it looked exactly the same as the 1990s version, and you know same vibe to it, I'm like, oh, I really don't need a recycled version. Like this is permanently in the back of my head. I don't need it. But coming back, and that first episode had basically it was that bridge between the old series and the new series, and you realize, just like you're saying, that these stories grew up with the series. Like just
Mhm.
where it made it accessible back in the 90s, this is doing it again. And we've on Scarif, we've been trying to do that. We've been trying to bring nerds out of the closet for years now and just give them a safe place. And sometimes I feel like that phrase might be overused, but we like to give nerds a safe place to talk and not worry about being judged, or that everybody's going to be at your throat for your opinions. And I love to
Right.
see projects like this, where it can bring people together just to talk about it. Like I haven't seen any hate. I mean, I'm sure it's out there because social media sucks, but I really haven't seen that much hate towards this project, and I love to see that.
That's and that's been an extreme rarity in the last almost 5 years now with Marvel, that
Yeah,
something has come out and we're not seeing, oh, here we go again. Here we go. This sucks, blah blah blah. I just it's good to feel like Marvel's back in a sense. Like they didn't let us down with this one. I feel like if they let us down with X-Men 97, then we all probably would have just left, because that's you just can't. You can't sully X-Men the animated series. That show was far too important, not just for us, but for Marvel itself, for the characters, for the people who were in that series. I mean, most of that cast came back for X-Men 97, and they're just like a bunch of kids. If you've watched any interviews with them, or watched or followed, oh, why can't he's new. He's the new actor for Gambit. I can
damn it.
never
Yeah,
say Ocasio. Is that his last name? I
maybe
can
I
never
don't. I
AJ.
know which. Yeah, I know which interview you're referring to, though. But you
Well,
know,
all of them
yeah,
really. Like when they
yeah,
go through the panel and they do the last time on X-Men the animated series, they go through and do all their intros. And poor AJ. AJ is just like like, I'm just so excited to be here. I'm just so
yeah.
happy to be here. And no, we haven't had that kind of cast and crew excitement and passion for a Marvel project in a long time. That comes through. And luckily, it did for X-Men 97. And what do we do now? Like it's so good. It turned out so perfect. I mean, I only have like one or two notes. Like, listen, Bo DeMaio, it's a little creepy that we're that fascinated with cartoon character sex lives. I don't care to know that Morph has this whole big thing for Wolverine, and that they possibly had some kind of thing. Like, that's too much for me. It's too much for me. Maybe I'm just old, but why are we so stuck on that? Why do we need to know that? It's Just stop it. Just stop it right there.
Yeah, I mean, you made a lot of points there, but going back to the '90s, for a lot of people, this was their only exposure to the X-Men and to Marvel Comics, and for most people, that was enough. Like these stories, like you were saying, that was enough, and that trend, that kind of held us over until 2000 when the movie came out,
Yeah,
or 2001 whenever it came out,
yeah, 2001.
yeah. And that was enough. And then, I know you wanted to talk about, where do we go from here? And I was, actually, I'll get to that in a sec, but
No, go for it.
I think why this worked so well, is because they had such a respect. You can tell they had a respect for the original content. And I think they treated it like it was this national treasure, and they don't want to fuck it up. And, and you could tell that from the writing to the graphics to the performances by the voice actors. You could tell that they didn't want to mess this up, and
it meant something to them.
It meant something, and they cherished that. And I think the reason we have a problem with a lot of these Disney projects these days is because it seems like they don't have a respect for the original content, and they think, oh, this is cool, this is new, they're gonna like that. Well, now you have writers these days where they say, well, I didn't read the original material.
Yeah,
I don't know why you would ever, even if that was true, I don't know why you would ever say that, but you can tell that he did. Not only was it true to the cartoon in the 90s, but also to the storylines that were in the comic books in the 90s. There were so many
references and deep cuts,
and you can tell that, and that's why it is, it just works. But you were talking about, where do we go from here, and I've been thinking about that, and I think because we already saw cameos by Captain America and others. I would love just like, and Kevin, however you say his last, Feige, whatever, however you say his last name, Feige, whatever you say his last name, Feige. He was the producer of this one as well. Just like he did for the MCU, make it as integrated as possible and make this the anchor show to the entire thing.
Absolutely agree.
And that gets you so many opportunities if you want to take it. Because the thing with the 90s, and I don't know if because I haven't read Marvel Comics in quite a while. The thing with the 90s, what you were waiting for was that big crossover that took, all the X comics, X-Force, X-Men, X-Factor, all those together. And then the other comics as well, when it got to a bigger scale, Avengers, Spider-Man, everybody, sometimes even Punisher, Daredevil, you would have these huge, massive crossovers. And that got you exposed to other comics that you might not normally read.
Right.
Because it was part of that huge storyline, like, Civil War, Age of Apocalypse, and all these other ones. I would love to see the MCU do that for this cartoon, make this the anchor, and then make sure that all these cartoons are integrated together.
I completely agree with you. And you've kind of touched on something that I've said multiple times, but I'm just going to repeat it. Avengers, that was never the flagship of Marvel. Avengers was never the flagship. It was X-Men.
Yeah.
And it's for a good reason. So everyone loves phase 1 through 3 of the MCU. I mean, they're pretty much universally, we like it. So what they did with that was great. But when things started to go south, when things started to flounder, and they're looking for, okay, what do we do? How do we get them back? If even that conversation is important to them, why not immediately say, well, what worked in the comics? What got us to this point? What sold books? And it was the X-Men every single time. So why did it take this long for them to deliver this? I don't know, but it's rather obvious that they can do it.
Yeah.
They can. They just showed us with X-Men 97. They can. And like you just said, let 97 be the anchor. Let this be your gold standard for Marvel going forward, for the MCU going forward. I've said before, you know, kind of explaining the differences between changing material and respecting the source material. X-Men the Animated Series always made changes to the source material, and there are reasons for that. One, it's so in depth. It's so in depth, and you're trying to fit so much information into 3 episode arcs, and the episodes are only 30 minutes every Saturday. So some changes had to be made. 2, it was for kids. So you've got to make some changes for it to be for kids. So it's not like it's been completely unheard of that there were changes made to the source material, and no one has ever complained about it with the anime. Not a person, not once, ever. But they respected the source material. We saw the same thing with X-Men 97. Yes, some changes were made. However, it's very, very clear that the source material was very, very well respected. And I've had certain people yell at me on streams before, certain individual that we all know and struggles.
Yeah.
And he would yell at me and say, oh, if they honor the material. No, there's a difference between honoring the source material and respecting. Honor it means you just pay homage. Like there's an Easter egg. That's honoring the source material. Honoring is just basically pointing it out. Respecting it is a totally different animal. Respecting it is respecting it. Like, I don't even, would you have a better way of explaining that? Because my only example is X-Men 97. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Ro made the comment in the chat about, you know, subverting expectations. Of course, we've been saying that since 2019, 18, whatever.
Right.
You know, but you know what you're saying about respect is true because we took this stuff seriously.
Yes.
Like, you know, and that's why we get so pissed about Star Wars is because for years, for however many decades, we've taken this seriously. So to see a giant corporation that has all the resources in the world to go out and get whatever writers, whatever actors, whatever they need to do it right, to see them, you know, almost on purpose shit on the original content. Yeah. That's why we get so pissed off. We, you know, we look forward to new stories, but if you're going to do something that has a backstory, it better be, as you said, respectful of the original content. Like, and this one, like Will said in the chat, like Executioner song from the early 1990s, that was a huge comic book storyline. And, you know, they did it right in X-Men 97. It was just a little tiny piece of it showing Executioner in there, but they did it right. And all these big moments that we had throughout X-Men 97, they did it right. And you could tell that, you know, the writer, and it does piss me off that they fired him, whatever the hell he's doing on the outside. I'll
explain that to you.
Yeah. They said that you had the entire story,
won't piss you off.
Well, I mean, apparently it's OnlyFans, which, you know, if I have to join his OnlyFans to watch X-Men, I'll do it.
Well, it's not that kind of OnlyFans.
Oh my God. What is it?
He was doing free, unrestricted porn to the public. And I don't mean like, I mean like porn. Like it was like you just did what? And it started like on
2 writers, 1 cup, that sort of thing.
No. Please don't make me. Please don't.
My search history is already bad enough. I don't need to look up anything else.
You don't. I'll tell you privately.
Yeah. Okay.
But it started on Instagram. Like Instagram's totally public. And he has this public profile on Instagram, and he was posting some extremely explicit, inappropriate pictures, and he was already like getting ready to release X-Men 97. It was well known he was the writer, director, executive producer, creator of X-Men 97. It's a cartoon on Disney Plus, bro. A cartoon.
That's why we can't have nice things.
Exactly. So he was warned back in November of last year, and I have all this on good authority from private sources that he was warned back in November. Stop. You signed a morality clause. You willingly signed a morality clause. Okay. It's in your contract. That's another big thing. You knew it was there. You knew what the rules were, you did it anyway. You're lucky we're giving you a warning. So he was given a warning. He not only did not cease, doubled down and started an unrestricted, for free to the public OnlyFans where he was doing absolutely grotesque things.
All right. Fine.
And so Disney was like, okay, we warned you. This is a kids show. You're a public figure for a kids show. You're out. I'm sorry. Now, luckily, he's already finished season 2. He's not going to have as in-depth, like he's not going to have control over soundtrack and stuff like that, but he's already written and directed. So he's done with that. And Disney has come forth and said that, yes, they plan on going with his vision because it's working. But for the record, he was absolutely not the only writer on the show. In fact, I did get to talk. Let me pull up the name because y'all know I can't remember anything unless I write it down. One of the writers, and he actually did one of my favorite episodes, which was episode 9, Tolerance is Extinction Part 2. And he's still there. Like he is still there. One of them was, of course, everything's going to come up Bo DeMaio. And I just clicked the wrong thing because, again, I'm old. We'll say episode 9 writer. I have a new keyboard, okay? I have a new keyboard. And I don't know. It's not popping up quickly for
that
me.
Guy that wrote those things, he's coming back.
He's coming back, yeah. But I did talk to him once, and it kind of sucks that I can't remember his name, but really nice guy. And there were a couple other writers, and they're still there on the show, and they all know what the plan was. Everyone knows the direction, what the plan was. So we shouldn't be too worried about it going forward. But again, it was so well done that, again, I couldn't wait for Wednesday to roll around and wake up with my coffee, like, and watch X-Men 97. Like, I almost felt like I had to have a bowl of Lucky Charms.
Oh yeah.
While I was watching it. It was so very exciting. But yeah, the episode 9 was one of my absolute favorites. Obviously, episode 5, poor Gambit.
Yeah.
I made a joke that because it was Remember It was the name of the episode. Remember It. And and he does speak some French because he is Cajun. But for those who don't know, the motto for Quebec is Je me souviens. I will remember. So when they were like, my name's Gambit, remember, and like all of Quebec was like, we know the answer to this. We know the answer to this question. What they did with Gambit, I thought was just very poignant and just deep, emotional. Gambit was my first love. like all girls of my age group, of course I had a crush on Han Solo and Luke Skywalker. But Gambit was an animated character that I had dreams about. I absolutely loved Gambit. And to see that he got this huge arc in the comeback was just like, good for him. Good for Gambit. I'm sad for Rogue, but you felt it. You could feel the emotion coming through it. And it's just, what were your favorite moments?
I mean, I'm with you. I like what they did with Gambit because, in my opinion, whether it was the comic book or the original cartoon, or I say it wasn't the original cartoon, but the 1990s X-Men, to me he wasn't ever that much of a huge factor in the overall storyline. Yeah, he was the guy that could never actually get Rogue, but besides that, he put kinetic energy into playing cards, and he had a really bad Cajun accent, and that was about it for Gambit. So I like that they took his storyline to another level, and you felt it when that happened to him. And then you got Nightcrawler at his funeral, like that, like holy crap. Like, and I love what they did with Nightcrawler as well. Like, he's such a well done character here.
He got a fatter story. Like, his character got fleshed out so much more. We got to explore more of him and Rogue's relationship as brother and sister, and both having a crazy mom. Like,
yeah. But as far as
how my sister and I bond.
Yeah, you were talking about earlier soap operas, and I've always been obsessed with the Summers family and what happened with Nathan Summers and what happened to him in the future. How does he come back as Cable?
Yes.
So I love the fact that they included Madeline Pryor, because she didn't, obviously, like you said, they have to water it down for the cartoon. But she was a pivotal character in the comic books. And I love the fact they could have easily just had Jean Grey have Nathan Summers and he goes to the future. But I love the fact that they included the Sinister storyline and Madeline Pryor.
Oh, yeah.
And, whose memories are whose. That is all straight. And that's one of those where we talk about respect the original storyline. That is all straight out of the comic books, where they could not, because Madeline was posing unknowingly as Jean Grey for quite a while in the comic books. She didn't know better. She didn't realize she was the clone.
No.
And I love that fact that they included that in the storyline.
Well, and when they kind of mashed up those two storylines with Madeline Pryor, because when we first meet Madeline, she is Madeline Pryor. Jean had died. Scott had moved back home and meets her, and like, I always thought this was kind of funny. Like, you didn't think for a second, gee, this is really weird. Like, she looks just like my dead wife. Could this just be like, an unhealthy thing for me to get into a relationship with a woman who looks, sounds, smells just like my ex-wife? Nah, ignore it. It's fine. They get married and have a baby.
Yeah.
Like, it's a huge whole thing. And I always felt bad for Madeline. I felt so bad for her because it wasn't her fault.
No, and she gets treated like shit.
Yeah, she does. Everyone hates her.
Yeah.
Just hates her. I'm like, of course she became the Goblin Queen.
Yeah.
Like, of course.
I mean, she's a badass, though.
Much love for Madeline Pryor. And the writer I was thinking of, his name is Anthony Saliti. He's one of the other writers, and I don't think we have to worry too much with Bo being gone. I do think we're going to have less Magneto in leather Speedos. I think we're going to have less of that, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with less creepy Morph. Like, Morph has always been creepy. Don't get me wrong.
I got to go back and watch her. I mean, I swear that guy's died like 5 times. I'm not sure how he's alive again. I got to go back and watch the originals.
Even in the comics. Like,
I thought he was dead.
Morph just dies.
Yeah.
But he died to save the professor. So that's an important takeaway. But yeah, this show was just an absolute masterclass in how to revive an IP, revive an entire studio, and respect the source material, make the fans happy and the critics happy at the same time. Like, this was a total hat trick. This was an absolute miracle. It's just an absolute shame that Bo had to completely ignore his contract. Like, I'm not going to kink shame anybody. I'm just saying common sense, bro. And I have emailed him and offered him an opportunity to talk about it. Like, hey, tell us your side of the story. All I know is what I know from Disney insiders.
I'm just surprised that I'm surprised that Disney has a morality clause. You know what I'm saying? First time for everything.
Yeah. No.
And are there any particular storylines you would like to see in the upcoming season?
Oh, remember when Storm got made into a child? And that's how we meet Gambit, is Storm is turned into a child, and she and Gambit are like in the employ of the Shadow King, and they're thieves and stuff. And then the nanny bot comes to, like, it's this crazy storyline how Storm gets made into a child again, and Gambit basically raises her. Now she does reappear in Cairo, Illinois, which I take issue with that, Chris Claremont. I love you to pieces, and I think you're a genius writer. But it's not Cairo, Illinois. It's Cairo, first of all. Cairo, Illinois. And it is a ghost town, an absolute ghost town. There's nothing there but abandoned buildings, and maybe 3 people still live there. It was a big booming town during the 20s, during Prohibition. It was a booming town because people would stop there on their way from Southeast Missouri up to Chicago. But not so much since liquor's been legal, and there's nothing there. But if you look in that book, it looks like it's this big town. They take her to Cairo Municipal Hospital. I'm like, that's not a thing. I know that they wanted to go with Cairo because spelled Cairo, and because of, she's Egyptian and all that. That's adorable. That's cute of you, but you didn't do your research very much. And place is a total hole. But sorry, Illinois. Sorry. I'm very close to the Illinois border.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think that would be a really cool story to do. What about you?
You just remind me of do you remember the X Babies comics from the 90s? I don't know if they still do that.
I do not.
Oh yeah, from time to time they would put out the X Babies, and just like the entire team turned into babies, and it was hilarious. But one I mean, if they can give Mojo an episode, they can give the X Babies an episode.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But it's adorable. You should look it up. X Babies. But I put it on Twitter. The moment where Xavier wipes Magneto's mind, which we kind of saw in this in the 90s, that's what created the character Onslaught. And Onslaught became one of the most powerful entities in the Marvel Universe because he was a combination of Magneto and Professor Xavier. And it literally took the entire Marvel Universe. The teaser for that storyline was Juggernaut getting his ass kicked. And you don't even see who did it. You just see Juggernaut is just laid out after having gotten his ass kicked, and I think the M-Cron crystal was ripped out of him, and that's how you were introduced. You're like, who did that? And it went on for a long time. All these powerful people were getting just chumped, and it came out that it was this Onslaught figure. Now, we were talking earlier about where do we go with the MCU. That's one of those that would probably have to wait because it gets all the other titles involved as well, like the Fantastic Four. And the Richards son had to be involved and stuff like that.
Franklin.
Franklin had to get involved in, do all the reality stuff. But I would like to see that. And obviously they introduced Apocalypse at the end of this one again in multiple different timelines. So introducing Legion.
That would be dope.
Xavier's son Legion, and that gets you to the Age of Apocalypse storyline. Mm-hmm. They've tried to do that in other formats. The movie was pretty horrible and stuff like that, but that was an epic storyline, and I would love to see them take a bite at that one.
I would love to see some David Haller. I thought Dan Stevens did a great job as him in the show Legion. I loved Legion. Even Dave liked Legion. And, Dave's not into this kind of stuff, really. I mean, it's like by osmosis, or it just kind of rubs off on him. Like, he hears it. But he watched Legion before we even started dating. So that should tell you everything you need to know. It was just a well done show. And, when I hear people say that they don't think Dan Stevens could play dumb or goofy enough to pull off Booster Gold in the DCU, I'm like, you need to watch some Legion, bro.
Yeah.
Did a really good job. But speaking of, you brought up Apocalypse, Abensur. Like, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. And it's not like we haven't gotten Apocalypse before in the X-Men animated series, but bringing him back into it, pretty exciting. And that we're going to be doing it back in ancient Egypt. Like, are we going to get Rama-Tut 2? Are we going to see that King variant? Or Is that what we're going to do? Like get like a crossover? Or is that how we're going to bring them into the MCU?
I know. I just love the fact that it was at least 3 different timelines that we saw him in. So them having to fight this huge fight in all these different timelines, I think it's going to be pretty epic.
And we're going to get Gambit as the Horseman of Death.
Yeah.
Look at that. Exciting stuff. I'm very much looking forward to that. And I do have your X-Babies. Let me I have to share because it wouldn't let me. It just would not let me pull it up. Here we go. It wouldn't let me upload the file.
Yep.
So there's some X-Babies. And then Will did send me. Oh, no. Oh, those are my babies. Oh. It's my daughter and my nephew. I was looking for what Will sent me. He sent me a figure of Morph, his Morph figure. Like it was pretty creepy looking. Will.
What the one from the 90s?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you just take his head off and put other people's heads on it. It was really creepy. Same body, just different heads. You just ripped his head off.
Morph is a person. It's just a creepo.
I love what they did with him in this version, though. Like whenever they needed an extra cameo, they just used Morph for it.
Right.
So, yeah, it was great to see. Yeah.
And no, I don't want to get on the subject of the pronoun game or whatever, but if there was ever a character to use different pronouns, it would be Morph. That makes sense. Like he can legitimately change who he is down to the DNA. So right now it's more superficial.
Yeah.
Still.
They did that with the Tales from the Empire with one of the Jedi they were fighting where they said that's just cheesy. They just threw that in there because Disney.
To appease.
But in this case, I had the exact same thought as you did. Like the dude's got literally however many personalities up in his head.
Right. And I think this is what a lot of us nerds have been saying the whole time. Like representation for representation's sake is not representation. That's pandering.
Correct.
That's being superficial with it. That's just trying to make a buck. But when you actually put thought into it and flesh it out, make it more than just one dimensional, make us care and make it make sense, then that's a totally different bag. Then yes, that's representation. But for one, being disabled, whenever they do a pandering, disabled character, that bothers me. That's insulting. Like, what do you think? I'm stupid?
Yeah.
I have nothing else going on up here. But yeah, I thought they did well in that respect, 100%. And I do believe that this going forward is the gold standard. Like everything is going to be compared to X-Men 97 from here on out.
But if they try other teams, will they work in that same format? Because there's been Avengers, cartoons in the past and other teams, Fantastic Four, but they weren't necessarily in this format. Would this format work for those other teams?
People are talking now that instead of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, they want Spider-Man 98. They want to just continue like X-Men 97 did for X-Men the Animated Series.
I mean, I would take it. Like I would, if they can reproduce the 1990s Spider-Man like they did this, I'd watch it for sure.
And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't watch Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man like I did X-Men.
Hey, do you want another person to make their first appearance on here? You want the baby?
Oh, give me the baby. A middle-aged woman. Yes,
of course I do. He's making so much noise back there.
Oh,
let's have him make a cameo.
Baby, my furry baby was back there, but he took off. He's a terrible co-host lately. Like, he's just not in the mood for it. It's fine. It's because Dad's not in here. If Dad's not in here, he doesn't care. Mom's inconsequential.
Yeah. Well, with Liam, I'm inconsequential most of the time. He's a complete mama's boy.
Liam was going to be my oldest child's name. But then his dad was like, no.
It's such a cool name.
I think so. My grandmother certainly thought so. She's very mad. then none of my children have a very obvious Irish sounding name.
All right, so he's been making all this noise. Let's see if he does it on camera as well.
Aw. Come here, baby Liam.
Dun, dun, dun.
Look how huge he is now. My goodness.
He is huge.
He is your clone down to the bald head.
He is my unaltered clone.
Get that mic, baby.
Get the mic.
Get the mic. What did you think of X-Men 97, Liam? I know.
Yeah.
So did I.
You can talk. There it is. There it is. See? You did like
Just
it,
because he's your unaltered clone, this doesn't make the second appearance for you, so you'll still have to come back 4 more times for the jacket.
Oh man, I was hoping to get one closer to the jacket.
No.
No. Oh well.
Liam, what do you think of Michael Leslie writing the live action X-Men movie? Are you worried? Are you, buddy? He looks so happy.
He's always happy.
I'm just so happy to be here.
You listen
so,
to him? Yeah.
Michael Leslie wrote the 2015 Macbeth. I mean, Shakespeare wrote it, but he did the screenplay. He wrote the latest. Yeah, I know. Shakespeare's just the best. He wrote Hunger Games, Ballad of the Songbirds and Snakes, Assassin's Creed. How do we feel about this? How do we feel about this guy writing our live action X-Men? Because I'm not seeing anything that really.
So was that question for Liam or for me? Because I mean, I don't know what Liam thinks, but
okay.
It reminds me of the first Thor was written by Kenneth Branagh, who basically all of his experience was in Shakespeare.
Yeah,
he did remakes of all the 90s stuff.
What You Do About Nothing.
Yeah, great films, and I think he's a fantastic actor and a fantastic director as well. So if it's anything like that, it could be good.
I just would like. I think I would. Well, he wrote a Hamlet movie too. It seems he might be onto something. I think I need to learn a little bit more about this guy before I can have a more informed opinion about it. But I just saw today that he's the one who's tapped to pen the movie after the huge success ratings darling of X-Men 97. They're like, yeah, so I think we're going to move forward with live action X-Men, guys. I think this might work. And they're looking at this guy.
Which of the X-Men movies do you love? Any of them? There's not a high bar here. There's really not.
I feel like I have to say X-Men Apocalypse because my poor friend was the makeup artist on that movie. And he got death threats for how Oscar Isaac looked. Yeah. And it wasn't even his decision. Like, you guys do realize they have to do what the producers and directors say, right? Like,
yeah,
but
it's not his call.
No, it was not his call. And for the look that they went with, he did a beautiful job. Like, it wasn't his work, I think, was the problem. And I don't know. So out of loyalty, I feel like I have to pick X-Men Apocalypse.
I mean, unless he's CGI, or like what they did with Thanos, Apocalypse is not going to work in live action. That's Ro and I talk about this. Some media does not translate into other media. Apocalypse is one of those characters that does not easily translate to live action.
Rumor is they want to do Apocalypse again in live action, and they want Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to play him.
No.
Short answer. No. I just shook my whole desk.
He is such a deep character. Like, if you're talking about giving a shit about the original content, like you're talking about somebody who's been around for thousands and thousands of years, and you want The Rock doing it. No. So that's what you're going to get out of it. You're going to get The Rock playing Apocalypse.
Yeah, you're going to get Black Adam.
Yeah.
You're gonna get Black Adam in the MCU is basically what it is.
Yeah.
And black with pee bottles all over set. I hope you're
Yeah.
prepared for the pee bottles.
Yeah. Give me a CGI apocalypse with somebody with a really good, like, you know, booming voice.
What's up, Music City? Yeah, that's basically what will happen. Dwayne Johnson painted blue, and you know, he'll just pee in water bottles everywhere and leave that for you to clean up.
Yep.
It's fun. It's super fun. Like a
He can't be
teenage
bothered.
boy's bedroom.
Yeah. Hard pass.
And if you're like 6 to 7, 8 hours late to set, you probably do need to save time. But if you weren't an entire day's work late to set, I don't think you would need to pee in bottles to save time.
That's just nasty.
Just me, you know, speculating here.
But here's, I mean, just I know you wanted to keep it to a certain time, but you know, this is something that Ro and I talk about all the time on Scarif. Why is all the good work being done in the animated series? Of, you know, why can we not get this with live action shows? Like, all the quality stuff is being animated.
I think it's because they don't have as much oversight. They're not paying, the higher ups aren't paying as much attention to the animation because they don't think it's going to be as much of a draw like the big time live action movies and stuff. So those animated teams, the animation teams, get a little bit more creative freedom. They can stretch a little bit and use their creativity. And then we get good stuff like The Bad Batch and X-Men 97. But then when you want to go make a big movie, they're like, okay, now people are going to pay attention to this one. So we're going to tell you what to do. Which never makes sense to me. What's the point in hiring creatives in the first place? Like, I really like how creative you are and how you kind of push the boundaries and, you know, you're really good at doing this, but I don't want you to do any of that. I want you to do exactly what I'm going to tell you to do. And I'm not a creative or imaginative person at all. I read a book on how to paint by numbers. So now I'm going to tell you what this book's. That's just dumb.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even understand the point of that. I think, and I was just talking about this last night on Twitter, Twix, that it's kind of this bubble and it's bursting. You know, they wonder, they put out a movie, they spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on this movie, and they throw it out at the box office, and then within 4 to 6 weeks, tops, it's on streaming.
Yeah.
It's like shooting yourself in the foot and saying, why is my foot bleeding? You're doing it to yourselves. A movie used to be an event. It used to be a big deal. You know, going to the movies with your family, that was a really big deal. You didn't go that often. And then you'd have to wait like 9 months for it to come out on physical media to watch it again. And you've ruined it. You've ruined the thing that makes it special. And you're asking us why we're not going. First of all, we're broke. Second of all, it's going to be on streaming in 4 weeks anyway.
Yeah, like Dune's already streaming.
Dune the Fall Guy is already.
Yeah, the Fall Guys. Yeah, I think If or whatever, the Imaginary Friend. You know, all this. Mm-hmm. You know, they're just killing any motivation to go to the theater.
Yeah, you've absolutely ruined it, and it's not. I mean, think about how that's going to actually affect the economy. People work at the movie theater. People work there. That's their job. That's their livelihood. Mostly 16-year-olds, but they still work there, and they still spend money in your local economy, in the global economy.
Yeah, I want to spend $18 on a popcorn. Like, give me reason to spend $18 on a popcorn.
Exactly. Speaking of which, I know what the Deadpool Wolverine popcorn bucket is going to be, and I'm wondering if I should tell you guys or not.
Yeah, I heard talk about that.
It's going to be very Ryan Reynolds. God Good. Love that guy. He's just, let's just put him in charge of everything. He's very good at what he does.
Yeah, I mean the X Force in Deadpool 2 was the best X Force that we've gotten.
Speaking,
Even though it lasted 5 minutes.
And speaking of which, speaking of If and Deadpool, I watched If, really good movie. I'm very angry at John Krasinski because here I thought I was going to watch a cute, funny little movie about imaginary friends. No, we're going to feel our feelings, bitch. That's what we're doing today. We're feeling feelings and we're crying. But there is an invisible friend, an invisible imaginary friend in a hallway whose name is Keith. And in the credits, Keith is credited as played by Brad Pitt.
Yep. I just saw that.
That was pretty cool. Okay, we're going to put it to a vote. Who wants to know what the Deadpool popcorn bucket wants to be? We've got one vote for yes from Spencer. So if the majority of you guys want to know what it is, I will tell you. But I will say from here, spoiler warning. If you don't want to know what it is, then go away.
Will also mentioned Free Guy, and that's one of my favorite movies that's come out.
Oh, I love Free Guy.
So much rewatchability on that
one. I did get some scoops that, let's see, one of the post-credit scenes in Deadpool and Wolverine does feature some of the most iconic characters we've never had in live action. And I got some hints about it. So I think people from, for those of you who actually did watch the Marvels, in the post-credit scene, you see Binary with Beast in a different universe. I think those people are going to come over into the main MCU. Okay, so we've got okay, most of you said it. Brad, how do you feel about this? You said you've already heard something.
Absolutely.
Headpool. The bucket is Headpool. It's just his head, which is kind of grotesque and hilarious at the same time. At least it's not another Fleshlight. Thank you, Dune Part 2.
Oh God.
It was just that.
It'll be really cool. A zombie Deadpool, zombie Headpool popcorn.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty dope. And I will actually buy one, and Dave will just deal with it.
He'll be fine.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. I'll just keep saying that and it'll make it real.
Yeah.
He found out, he's like, you're sending out gifts to your patrons. I'm like, yes.
It's a collectible.
Yes, I am.
It's an investment.
It's an investment. I mean, look, he got me a 4-foot-tall Darth Vader battle buddy. He got me $100 War Machine helmet and a scale R2-D2 and a full-size TARDIS. He's an enabler. Okay. We all need to face the reality that Dave is an enabler. So don't complain that I want to get the Headpool bucket, lover.
And did you see that article? I just read it today that one of the people that was working on Deadpool, they thanked Ryan Reynolds because they said one of the scenes was so cool that was the best day of their lives, was filming that scene.
Shut up.
Yeah, I mean that's a good sign right there.
I believe it. The fact that I saw an interview with Hugh Jackman, and he said after he watched Deadpool, he was like, I said I was done with this. I said I was done. I hung the claws up. Not doing it ever again. And then he watched Deadpool and Deadpool 2, and he was like, fuck, I want to do this again. I really want to put these characters together on the screen. I think it's going to be phenomenal. I think it's going to make $1 billion. The tickets are on sale now. And please send me screeners. Please send me screeners so I can convince Dave to go to the movies with me again. Please send me screeners, please. Because I really want to go see it and feel bougie in the recliner seats.
I mean, really, these days you got to pick like 2 movies a year that you want to go see. I think that's about all there is. That's
take out a loan, second mortgage on the house.
Yeah,
because movie theaters. They had to get creative since people didn't want to come anymore.
Yeah.
You've got full-blown bistros and stuff inside the movie theater. So I went and I had some mozzarella cheese sticks and a double cheeseburger on a pretzel bun, a couple of beers, and then we went in and watched the movie with popcorn and stuff. So, yeah, it's a whole thing. Like the movie
It's an
theater,
experience.
yeah, the movie theater we go to when I actually do get screeners up in St. Louis, it's got a beautiful domed ceiling that's just painted so elegantly. And then while you wait for your movie, you sit in these couches that are the butt ends of 56 Chevys. And there's, projector screens so you can watch whatever's going on there while you wait to go sit down for your. It's crazy. It's so nice. Make us want to go do that. Okay.
Make it worth it.
Yeah, make it worth it. Quit giving us crap and then putting it on streaming in 4 weeks anyway. That's the dumbest thing ever. And yes, the recline. This was my first time ever sitting. Okay, real quick. I got to tell this story because it was so funny. My first time ever going to a press event, and I was so excited. And I didn't know that all I had to do was like go straight up to the desk. I just saw all these people standing in line, and I was aggravated with Dave that he wanted to go out and smoke first. I'm like, see, look how long this line is. You're never going to stand here and wait in a stupid line. So I get up there, and we get in the theater, and the guy's like, all these seats are taken. The only seats that are right down in front, like 6 inches from the screen. And I was like, what if I'm disabled? Like, here's my card. I'm going to play it. He's like, well, I mean, there's one disabled seat right here. And Dave goes, wait a minute. Those say reserved for press. And the guy says, well, yeah. And he goes, she's press. He's like, wait. He checks my name on the list. He's like, why didn't you say so? I'm like, ushers us up to my reserved recliner seat that like leaned back, feet up in the air, table, cup holders. Would you like anything, Miss Sanssouci? Oh my God, you said my name right. Are you kidding me? Like, it was fantastic. Like, Dave had the best movie nap of his life.
Yeah. It's got to be a good movie or I'm out cold in those seats.
Oh, well, it was Monkey Man. And Dave falls asleep in movies anyway because he's 45 years old.
I feel that.
He's 45 years old. He's ex-Army, and he's a busy, important man. He's got important things to do. So by the time he gets to actually sit, put his feet up in a nice, comfy leather recliner, he's a dad. He's unconscious. What do you expect? So, no, that was pretty cool. I felt really fancy, and it was a very nice recliner. So I'm with you on that, Music City. I have been spoiled for life. Please send me more screeners, please. I'm desperate. Please send me more. So moving on real quick. Why aren't you watching Outer Range? This is one of the greatest shows I have seen in a very long time. Josh Brolin is actually one of the executive producers. He's directed several episodes. He stars in it. It's on Amazon Prime. It's absolutely brilliant. Apparently, this is something that Dave told me, there's an actual giant hole out in is it Montana or is it Wyoming? So out in Wyoming, there's a giant hole and it's got like no end. They don't know how deep it is. It's just there. So they've made this show kind of based on that hole. And I don't even know if I can even explain it to you. There's a big hole on this guy's ranch and their time is involved. It's so engrossing and intelligent and fascinating, and I have no idea what's going on. All I know is I need to keep watching more. Seasons 1 and 2 is up on Amazon Prime. You guys have got to watch this. It's absolutely brilliant. And in fact, on top of it just being a fantastic show, it's actually one of the cheaper shows. Like, their budget was really low. Like, Josh Brolin was a magician with it. God love him. But Josh Brolin, absolute gift to the sci-fi genre. He's knocked it out of the park with this show. If you're looking for something to watch right now while you're waiting for Deadpool and Wolverine and Beetlejuice and everything else to come out, watch Outer Range. You will not be disappointed. If you are, I will send you a sticker and then you'll have to feel bad that you forced me to spend money to send you a
Popcorn
sticker.
bucket money, head pool money.
Yeah, head pool money. Like, I will not get a head pool bucket because you forced me to send you a sticker because you have no taste. But no, Outer Range, Amazon Prime, definitely check that out. It has all the tots. It's 20 tots from me. It's so good. And of course, as always, hashtag justice for Maria Hill. Don't let them forget what they did. Okay. They killed off an integral part of the MCU like if she was absolutely nothing. She didn't even get a funeral. She didn't even get a Coulson moment. Like, this is for Maria Hill. Like, nothing. We just got her mom yelling at Fury for a hot second. It was just they done Colby Smulders dirty, and I'm just not over it. I'm never over it. Beetlejuice is trailer is coming out next week. I'm hearing. As soon as I have it, I will drop it like it's hot, because it will be. It's Michael Keaton. How could it not be? What do you think, Beetlejuice? You excited for that?
I am cautiously optimistic. Again, sequels have a kind of a bad reputation, but as you said, it's Michael Keaton, and he has a hard time not doing awesome. So, Winona Ryder is going to be in it. Michael Keaton's in it. That's enough for me.
And Tim Burton.
And yeah.
He flat out said that he would not sign off on anything unless he was making the movie. Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, they all said they're not coming back unless Tim Burton is doing this movie. So good for them.
Yeah.
That's called integrity. That's called standards. And we need more of that these days. I think what's happened the last 20 years is like the 5 people that are in charge of all the money were like, hey, we're getting even more money that we can't spend in 100 lifetimes. I bet we could make even more. And then just watered everything down and cut way too many corners. And now they're drinking fetal and unicorn blood mimosas on their private islands.
Oh my God.
With the rest of the international cabal. Whatever. It's all connected.
This got dark. That's another show. We don't have time for that right now. We can get into that, just not right now.
True story. With that, guys, I have to pee. That means it's time to wrap it up. I mean, I'm on my second beer, which means mom's got to go.
Is there a sound effect for that too?
You know what? Or Dave's favorite. Ask Ro about the time. It was me, him, and Vic from Fan Dads. We were doing a live stream, and I had the volume turned down kind of low, and I didn't realize that the loop was on. So this was going maybe 15 minutes. Maybe 15. It took us a minute to realize that it was happening. So
it'd be like that sometimes.
It do be like that sometimes. It do. And I really respect you speaking to me in my native tongue of North County, St. Louis. What's up, Ferguson?
Oh my God.
I want to thank my awesome schmawesome guest, Brad. Sorry, Will. That was a great comment, but I absolutely did not mean to put that up yet. I was trying to take that down and then scroll up here and say, oh, Brad's information. Thank you so much, Brad, for joining me for the first time on Comics and Cosmetics, even though we've been in the same network for over 3 years. I appreciate you coming here for the first time. I'm so glad you got to see the world, though. I loved creeping on your personal accounts and seeing all your pictures. I was super jealous, super mad that you were eating bangers and mash without me.
Oh, yeah. It's delicious.
Yeah,
delicious.
You're a jerk. That's fine. You didn't bring me any back. That
was a small consolation prize for the other 99% of that.
In the Navy.
Yeah, not for much longer.
Yay, happy retirement.
Yes, thank
Being
you.
retired from the military is pretty sweet. I will say that. It's difficult to get into that mindset because, I mean, military life and civilian life, 2 totally different animals.
Yeah.
Just Like what? I got to pay electric every month? What's rent? What's a house payment? What is it? I got to go buy paint for my house? What do you mean I can't just... Really? Where's housing? Where's housing? Can I just go? There is no housing. Okay. I learned how to be a legitimate civilian adult, I think last year.
Yeah.
And then I retired from that.
I've been putting off growing up for, 40 something years now. I guess it's that time.
Your attire does not tell me that, but okay.
Yeah,
Looks
I'm
like
lying.
grown-up clothes to me.
Yeah, I'm totally not growing up.
Thank you, Brad. I had a good time.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me on.
Everyone go follow Brad on Twix and go subscribe to the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast or the Shuttlebutt podcast for the rest. Your Irish senses tingling, bangers. Yes, I am half Irish, and I do love bland food. Ro would argue with you about that. He'd argue that my Mexican half is the better. It's not entirely half, though, so there's that. Anyway, thank you so much to everyone in the chat. I had a wonderful time today. I hope you did as well. I've been Danny. You've been awesome. And remember, check under your beds tonight because
Disney and Kathleen Kennedy are gonna get you.